Okay, so let's start. So Jai Bhima, everyone. Hope I'm audible to all. So we'll start today's session. Thanks for acknowledging that. Um, it's a it is both a moment of pride and reflection as we welcome you all to the eighth and the final session of the Ambedkar Intellectual Summit 2026. Over the past few days, this summit has not just been a series of sessions, it has been a journey of ideas, resistance, learning, and collective awakening. Each discussion has pushed us to question, to reflect, and to reimagine the world around us. As Dr. B.R. Ambedkar reminded us, life should be great rather than long. This greatness lies in questioning injustice, in speaking truth, in reclaiming our dignity, and today's session speaks directly to that spirit. I'm Nitin Jadhav, and I'll be your moderator for today's concluding session. Today's theme is deeply personal and powerful. It asks us to confront the silences that exist around merit, identity, and success, especially in spaces where these narratives are often shaped without acknowledging structural inequalities. Now, moving to today's speaker, we are honored to have with us Tanvi Jadhav, an IIT Mumbai alumna currently working as a software engineer in the tech industry. Her journey itself reflects the intersection of hard work, identity, and lived realities, making her voice extremely relevant for this conversation. She'll be speaking on the thought provoking topic breaking silence, merit, identity, and what they never told you about success. This session invites us to look beyond the surface of success and ask deeper questions. Uh, Whose merit is recognized, whose struggles are invisible, and whose stories remain untold. So, beautiful topic today. As we conclude conclude this summit, this conversation is not just an ending, but a powerful reminder that the work of questioning, learning, and asserting continues beyond this platform. With that, it is my privilege to invite our speaker, Tanvi Jadhav, to begin today's session. Over to you, Tanvi. Thank you.
Hi, thank you so much, Nitin, for the introduction, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. So I'll share my screen. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So can you allow me to share?
There are too many screens out here. Just trying to
Okay.
allow people as well as check the permission. So I have allowed you to share the screen.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. mm, Okay. I'm so sorry. I'll have to join again. I'm so sorry. I'll be back in a minute.
No problem. So meanwhile, I'm just changing the settings. Probably you may not be able to unmute yourself. If there is anything, please put it on the chat. Then we have, uh, okay.
You're able to hear me, right?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, cool. Let me just share my screen. Hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes.
Okay.
Is that on your screen saying Zoom is asking, requesting?
Okay. Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Cool. You're not seeing the presenter view, right?
I can see the speaker note
Oh,
as well.
oh, that is bad.
Okay. Maybe you need to have multiple screens or something like that. Or
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it would be a little difficult, right? Without that,
Yeah. Are you able to see now?
I can see the presentation slide, but not the notes.
Oh, okay.
We,
Cool. I
we
think
can,
I'm fine. I'll go without the notes. It's okay.
yeah,
It's not
okay.
a big
Yeah.
deal. Cool. So hi everyone. I am Tanvi. Today, first of all, Jai Bhim, and I hope you are excited for Ambedkar Jayanti tomorrow. So today I'll be talking about merit, identity, and what they never told you about success. So, let me just start with a quote which I like the most, which is I measure the progress of a community by the degree of progress which women have achieved. So, I always, whenever I want to feel motivated in my life, I look at this quote. And one thing I do like about it is how Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar thought about women when he thought about measuring progress, because women, it's especially in India, are more oppressed as opposed to men. And the fact that if women in the community have achieved progress, it's a good way to measure the progress of the overall community. So I really, really like this quote. And I think it's very feminist. So I'll be talking about my story. So I'll just talk about like what I'll be covering today. I'll be talking about my story, what I learned from it, and what are some takeaways which you can go back in your life and then reflect on. So before I start my story, obviously, I want to talk about how progress, especially in our community, is not something that happens just through one person being like an outlier and making success. Most success stories are successes which have happened through generations and not just something which is happening through a single person. So yeah, today I will not be talking about all the struggles that my grandparents and parents went through, because that's not something I think people from our community are in most stories portrayed as victims, and I do not like that narrative. So I will not be talking about struggles. I'll just be talking about things that happened through each generation, which made sure that I was successful. So firstly, like my grandparents were Ambedkarites, my parents were Ambedkarites, and so am I. And my grandparents, like my maternal grandmother, was a hardcore Ambedkarite. During her times, she was very progressive. And even then, she would be in her locality, help women and help people from our community to like progress. Same with my parents as well. They are also very active in the community, and they are actually way more active than I am. I am just like so active online, but they are active in real life, like helping people from the community in real life. And yeah, my parents uh, were like one of the first people in the entire neighborhood who like cracked their board exam. And during that j- time, that was also a really big deal. Both of my parents did work like in government jobs, and then they also built networks and connections with like people they worked with and people they were surrounded with, and they helped they used those networks and access to make sure that their kids got like into good schools. So I actually went to like a really good school. They made sure I had access to uh, uh, like resources and books, etc., which most people have. So there's this one story which I remember from like when I was in third grade. My father had gotten this book called Ren and Martin, which is like used for studying English, and my father would teach me like very complex tenses and That is a topic which usually students study in like sixth grade, and my parents were like teaching that to me like in third grade. And yeah, my parents always made sure that both their kids always grew up in an environment where we had a lot of curiosity, we could ask questions. They would make sure we were like very much into math, science, etc. And that's basically how I grew up. So it's not just like my success is not just my own. It took people like even my parents were there like behind it. And when about me, like when I grew up, like I did do good in my boards. I had like 95 percentage in my boards. Then I did like engineering from uh college in Mumbai, which was like Sardar Patel Institute of Technology. And after that, I went ahead and did my master's from IIT Bombay in computer science and engineering. And yeah, so basically, I'll talk about my story. So I did graduate from IIT BCSE, and one of the things like about my journey is initially like I did, as I said, my bachelor's, and before that I did uh, so when I was in 11th, 12th grade, we would have this thing called vocational subjects where I took computer science as a vocational subject, and I was really interested in computer science. So like during my like every person who does engineering in India, I did give JE. And unfortunately, I was not able to like crack the JE exam. And I was getting admission back then in some college, like in some IIT, but I did not take it. And there were two reasons for it. One was because I wanted to study computer science and it was not computer science. Second was because I knew I was getting admission only because of reservation, not because I had good score. So I did not feel right at that point to take admission. So I did not take admission at all. I just went and like took admission in like a college in Mumbai for computer science. And yeah, like throughout my life, there was this pattern where, as I said, like my I tried to always take admission in places where my marks were like very same as like the general category cutoff, so that I would feel like I deserve to be there. Or I would not, as I said, I did not take admission at all when I felt like I did not deserve the seat. And afterwards, when I gave my gate CSC, so at that time I was obviously I was in Mumbai, so most people in my college back then were like the really rich kids who lived like Andheri, Juhu, etc. So they all went to do like MS in the US, and uh, I never really could even think of doing that because obviously I did not come from like any money of that sort. So I had to like just I had no other option. So I thought maybe I'll just do MTech in India because obviously that did not cost any money versus safe taking 50 or 60 lakh loan and then going to the US. So that's what I did. And back then, I think I did get like my AIR was around 1000 ish. And I got IITB in like, I think second or third round. So this time I was like, okay, I'm not going to be foolish again and not take admission. So and plus it was CSC, so it's something that I always wanted. So I did take admission in the college. And then afterwards, even like when I did take admission, I think I had like some sort of I was scared a bit that maybe I'll not be able to survive there, but then I still like went ahead and took the admission, got inside. And yeah, like when I got in, like most of the people around me or like my wingies and stuff were like single and double digit AIR. And it does like scare you a bit, but I think it was fine. Like I did make like good friends. I got out side of IT with like a 9 CGPA, and I was like, fine, I got placed on day two. I got uh, in like a tech company as a software engineer. And even then, I was like, in the once I was in the company, I got like promoted really quickly. Like in the first 1.5 year, I was promoted, and the senior I became in like 4 years of my career. So usually, like the most people take at least 6 years. I got promoted in like just 4 years, and afterwards, yeah, I was also making a lot of money. So I use this quote that I was making at one point, like even now I'm making like more money in a year than like my entire bloodline made in their whole lifetimes. So yeah, that's like some thing that I say to remind myself how far I've come. So yeah, this story does sound like there's a lot of things that I accomplished in my life, but overall, it was never enough for me because I was always, as I said, like doing things, getting admission, and in the end, I just did not feel like I deserved to be there. Like even like when I was working, I just felt like the work that I was doing was very easy, and the money that I'm making is like just too easy. Like anybody can do this kind of a work. And it was always like initially, I felt like if I gotten into IIT, I would finally have merit, or I would finally be intelligent if I get placed earlier than everyone else. I would be intelligent if I make so much money every year. I will be good. I like I deserve the seat that I got. And yeah, it just never stopped. Like it just was never ending. And like no matter whatever I was achieving, whatever like companies I was getting into, whatever promotions I was getting, whatever I was building my brand, it just never felt like it's ever going to stop, or I've ever going to feel like I am worthy of anything, or like I am smart enough to like just be there. And yeah, I was really insecure about my the self-worth, and like especially intelligence. Like, and it does sound like weird, right? Like you're scoring 95. Why are you scared? Why do you even have like such insecurities around intelligence? But yeah, it was there. And I did have to go to like a lot of therapy as well. And over time, you realize that a lot of these insecurity is not something that you are born with. It's like something the society puts into you. So, as you must have heard these phrases, like people just saying to you throughout your life that you are a scheduled caste person, you just don't need to study at all, you get everything for free. Just like reservation is ruining this country, and that a brain drain is happening because of reservation, or the fact that people are working in what is those things like private companies, and like ISRO and stuff does not have reservation, so that is why they are flourishing, and like all these things you keep hearing. And yeah, when you constantly keep hearing these things, it does affect you a lot, and you start to internalize it, and you start to internalize the fact that maybe there is truth in it. And you try to continuously try to prove that no, that's not true. I am worthy. I am, just because like I am scheduled caste, or just because I uh, like use reservation, doesn't mean that I am not worthy of it. But when you are conditioned to it by hearing it so much, you do internalize it. And then the question is like, what really is merit? And I'm going to put some stats. And honestly, I don't like to put stats around because it just doesn't feel like authentic to me. It feels like our lives are not just like numbers. When you put stats like, oh, this percentage of Dalits have to go through this much atrocities, it's like there's humans behind these stats. And when you put stats, it just doesn't feel, it feels like you are just a number and you're not like a real human. But anyways, I want to put stats because yeah, it's also a reality. So obviously the level playing field is never the same for a person who is from a marginalized background versus someone who's not. Um, like 1 in 3 Dalit people are multidimensionally poor, and what multidimensionally poor means is that even if they do get financially stable, it's still not going to remove the poverty, because there are a lot of aspects in which uh, there's a lot of resources and a lot of access which Dalit people still don't have. So even if you still let go, if you gain some sort of wealth, it is still you're still going to have that kind of lack of resources. um so that's one thing. Second is like, obviously, like even today almost 30% of schools in India still practice caste-based segregation, where people from scheduled caste backgrounds are not allowed to sit together with the other students, and because of which almost 1 in 9 Dalit kids drop from primary education, and then 1 in 5 Dalit students drop from secondary education. And as you go further, like in college and higher education and PhDs, this number keeps increasing. So the ratio keeps decreasing, like from 1 to 9 to 1 to 5 to 1 to 3, etc. So yeah, this is, as I said, like statistics, but we are not just like, we are people, like there's humans behind these numbers. So I don't really like not putting numbers. But anyways, other than the numbers, nobody really asks these questions like what really is merit. And yeah, merit is something which is not just something which is you're born with. It is something which is through multiple circumstances. Like it depends on which school you went to, what kind of networks you had. As I said, like I did grew up in some privilege. It's not that I was like without any resources or access. That's not true at all. I did grew up in like a some privileged background where I had a good school. So it does matter what school you went to, what kind of networks you had, because if you have networks, you know what where to get the resources from, where to get access from, whether you're even when you can afford to fail or not. Or, and this is also really important because a lot of Dalit kids do not even cannot afford to like just keep going studying ahead, or and a lot of them have to take care of their families financially. For me as well, I did want to study MS in the US, but I couldn't do that because obviously if I would fail in it, if I wouldn't not get a job in it, I would have uh just not been able to like repay such a huge loan. Like obviously 40-50 lakhs or more than that is a pretty huge amount, so you cannot afford to fail. Versus some other people from my similar backgrounds who did do that, they could easily afford to fail. It was fine for them. Lot of them did not even take loans. They just had like that kind of money just lying around, and they just went and did it. So yeah, can you even afford to fail? And so this is really important, is like, what is your confidence built or was it inherited? So um obviously I grew up in a good household, but it's also the society that you live in. It's not just like your house, right? You also step out of your house, you talk to people around you. And when your confidence is built naturally, when in your house you're already said that you already are superior than everyone, you have better genes than everyone, you just develop some sort of like, I don't know, fake confidence. And even the society is telling you that you have merit. And then that's not the case with uh, people from marginalized background. People from marginalized background are constantly told that they do not have merit. They do not have the, no matter whatever they do, they will never have merit. So that is something the society tells you continuously, and which is why your confidence obviously is not something which a person has. And I think mentally also it's a really important thing. Like you achieve what you believe you can. So I think that's something yeah, nobody talks about. And yeah, like having uninterrupted focus, or were you just fighting to survive? So all these things constitute for merit. Obviously, so this is like, obviously I was privileged in ways, and that is true. I'm not going to deny that I am not coming from privilege. I did have a lot of privileges in a lot of sense, but there were a lot of things because I was surrounded by people who had single digit, double digit AIRs, people who were like also in like the best colleges, the elite degrees and everything. This, my privilege was very less as compared to what their privilege was. So I had to see like what they had, and a lot of these kids were not first generation. And when I say first generation, I mean a lot of them already had their parents who had studied from IITs, already had multiple family members who are already in these elite institutes. So for them, it's like a very normal thing to be like studying in such colleges. A lot of my friends from IITB also, they studied from like similar coaching. For me, I did not even have like a coaching. I mean, I did have like a coaching, but it was like very pretty normal. Like it was nothing great. And what I did while studying was just, I had like one book which was this big, and it had previous year question papers, and I would just take those questions and I'll just keep solving, like since the I would go in my library and just keep solving entire day. And then whatever I was failing at, I would just go back and study alone. So I was studying alone in a library. I did not have anybody. I literally had no one around me to like help me or tell me. So yeah, that's also another thing, mentors and networks, which I did not have. Like I was the first who gave this exam. I did not have anybody. I was just opening my book and solving it all alone. And yeah, like safety net is another thing. Like, do you even have a safety net? Which is again something which obviously, like, not everyone from marginalized backgrounds have a safety net. For me also, I did not really have that much of a safety net. I mean, I did like it's not that I would be homeless or anything like that, but yeah, I cannot like just, I could not just like fail, you know. And that is something really important. Just not just about my life, but like failure in general. Like the more freedom you have to fail, the more you experiment in life. And if you don't experiment, if you don't take risks, you will never be able to achieve the greatness. Most people who achieve greatness is because of the fact that they could afford to even take the risk. So that's another thing. And finally, obviously, there was no stigma attached to what they were doing. Nobody told them that they did not deserve the seat. So, and this is like what I learned. So, this is something which took a lot of therapy and retrospection. One was, throughout my life, I was always the average person in the room, and that did make me feel like I'm not good enough at anything. So, like I said, I had 95 in my boards, but then I was not even the top 10 in my school. Like that's how normal it was to get a 95%. Like I had a 9 CGPA in IITB, but everybody around me had a 9 CGPA. Like it's not a big deal to get a 9 CGPA in IITB. Like a lot of my friends had 9.5 and stuff. And same, like throughout my life, I had like people who were like much smarter than me. But that's the truth. That's like, oh, over time I realized that itself is a privilege. The fact that I can be in rooms where I am not the best person itself is a privilege, because that means that I have so much more to learn and so much more to grow. And yeah, I stopped seeing being average as something which is bad, but seeing it more as a privilege. And yeah, a lot of these rooms, I am really open about the fact that I use reservation, and I also think reservation is something which has put me in all these places. Without that, I think my career trajectory wouldn't have been that faster. So yeah, reservation, I'm like forever grateful for it. Um, Second was like I was deriving my self-worth from achievements, but that's a never-ending loop, because once you get stuck in that, you will never get out of it. So yeah, I think I stopped deriving my self-worth from achievements. There was this one instance where I was giving some interview at Google, and I told my therapist that I don't care even if I fail this interview. I really do not care. Like, I already know at this point, like, I am good enough. So I don't care if I fail this interview. I don't care if I pass this interview. I don't care. Regardless of whatever be the outcome, I just I am worthy regardless of whatever is the outcome. And yeah, it's once you stop deriving your self-worth from achievements, once you start seeing yourself as a human and not just someone who has to keep achieving things to prove that you have merit, to prove that um, you have worth, you start to yeah, start being more confident in yourself. And third is silence is something which compounds over time. And yeah, so yeah, I have multiple instances which did happen to me. So, and I usually did not really talk about them that to people. So there would be like places where people would just like ask me my caste and stuff, and I would just say that I don't know what a caste even means because I am from a very progressive city and a progressive household. I don't even know what the meaning of caste is. And that's how usually I would answer question. Like when people would ask me my caste, I would just say that I don't even know what caste means. And people would then also there would be instances when people would say in front of me just like, oh, reservation is so bad. They would not even know that like I am literally there talking to them just because of reservation. Like that's the reason why I am they even have access to me. So there was a lot of these things, and over time I just did not say anyone anything, just it was in me. And yeah, it was like accumulated grief and like rage because I did want to say at that time that this is not right, you can't say this, but yeah, I never said that. And there were a lot of other instances also. Like, I think I have posted about it multiple times. Like, certain men in my office would have thrown some like really bad sentences like "tum achhoot ho kya" and all these things. And I mean, like, can you believe someone just saying that in your workplace? Like, there's a such I cannot even believe how do people even say that. But I had to, like, I did not say anything. I couldn't even comprehend that someone would say something like that. But over time, I think things started changing. The more I started becoming vocal about my identity, the more I started becoming vocal about the fact that I have used reservation, the fact that you cannot use these kind of slurs in front of me. I started calling people out. I think all my anxiety started to go away. So a lot of my anxiety is not from being a scheduled caste person, but from just not accepting it publicly that I am. And I remember the last instance where someone at my workplace was making fun of me because I would make like anti-caste posts on my Instagram, and it just like I just that was like my end. I couldn't take it. I just like told the person on their face that they have no integrity. That's why they are making fun of me. I literally humiliated them. And then I also went and complained against them. And that was it. So I think right now I'm at a position where I am really okay with my identity. But the truth is, like, the more silent you stay, the more it's going to stay within you. So you need to keep uh, talking back. You need to accept it, and you need to call out people. The more you do that, the more it's going to be better for you. And if you don't do it, the anxiety is going to stay within you, and you're just going to get stuck inside your head. Anyways, that's pretty much about like my life. I This is like how I navigate it. So these are some things that you can use as tips and how do you grow in your career, how do you survive these systems, and yeah, how do you go forward with it. So maybe you can take some of these back with you. So first was like uh, Said, like, in the beginning, life should be great rather than long, as Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar said. Choose rooms that make you uncomfortable, and this is a real something that I had to learn. Even if you feel that you will not be able to survive because everybody else is smarter than you, it is okay. It's okay for you to still be there in that room. The fact that you are uncomfortable means that you are growing in life. Because there were so many things I did not know before I got in IIT and after I got out of it. And it's because I was okay being in a room which did make me uncomfortable. Another aspect to this is also being in places which also make you uncomfortable. And what I mean by that is asking for what you want in life and being very unapologetic about it. Because I observed one thing is that a lot of people who come from privileged backgrounds are not they don't feel ashamed for like asking for things. I think we are our community, we are made to feel ashamed for like asking for things, or like just card freeloaders or whatever. That's not true at all. And one thing, as I said, like I was getting promotions very fast in my career, and one of the main reasons was because I would just ask for these promotions. And yeah, that, as I said, you should also be in uncomfortable situations, like asking for promotions, asking for hikes, asking for what you deserve, because if you don't ask for it, someone else will. And I was watching this interview of some VP at Amazon who said there were like two people who wanted promotion, but one of them just fought harder and that person got it. So you need to be always be uncomfortable to have these conversations and be in these rooms. Second is that skill is built and not inherited. So this is a really beautiful quote by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, which is, "Men are mortal, so are ideas, and idea needs propagation as much as plant needs watering. Otherwise, both will wither and die." What it means is that you can think of something, you can have an idea, but unless and until you go and execute it, it's just going to end. Like there's no, yeah, unless until you do something about it. So I think one thing which has been said about like there are a lot of skills, which are said to belong to certain communities. Only people from those communities can have access to these skills. For example, say singing or dance forms, which are like the traditional ones, which only people from like certain privileged communities can have access to. But all of this is a lie. None of this is inherited. None of this skills, like singing skills or like intelligence, none of this is inherited. Every single thing is a muscle memory. And I want you to remember this for the rest of your life. Every single thing is a muscle memory. The more you do it, the more better you get at it. And that's just it. Like it can be any skill in life. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Every single thing is a muscle memory, which means you just have to consistently keep doing something over and over again. And yeah, that's the only way your skill is going to get built. And that's how your ideas are going to come to life. Because, and you have to get this thing from your head that things only belong to certain communities. That is not true at all. Nothing is inherited. Third is never stop learning. Again, another quote, cultivation of mind should be the ultimate aim of human existence. You should always be willing to learn. I think one of the things, so like I said, I did not crack my JEE, and one of the reasons was I did my like boards marks, like I let that get in my head, and I thought like, oh, I am so much better than everyone and I don't need to study because I'm so at that small part of my life I did think that I just don't need to study as much and I'm just smart, but that's not true. Because I stopped learning, I did fail and I did not get back then. But yeah, I had to learn this over time, that the moment you stop learning, someone else will be continue learning. And this is even true with my current profession. I work in tech, And tech industry moves so fast. There's so much new innovation that happens, whether it's AI, LLMs, etc. And the moment you stop learning, someone else will. So you have to continuously keep learning, and the more you learn, your brain will also keep getting uh, mm, like your mind should always be uh, in like working, so that like Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar said, cultivation of mind. It's really important to make sure that you're not like stagnant in life. Never stop teaching. This is also really important in life. Uh, Also, again, another quote: a great man is different from an eminent one in that he is ready to be the servant of the society, which means that eminent one is someone who is just done great in life, but just for themselves. Versus a great person is not just doing something good for themselves, but also for the society and also for the people around it. So don't just do things for yourself, but also uh, don't forget to give back. And that can be in any ways: give back to the community. And another thing, it's like the more you give back to people, the more you like mentor people, more you teach people, the more you also realize what you don't know, and the more you even grow. So one thing is you need to make sure you're like not just it, even if you don't know, right? If you think that how am I supposed to mentor someone if I don't even have this skill set yet? And that's fine, you should still do that, because if you go and mentor people, you'll realize what you don't know and you can go and learn it later on. So never stop teaching and never stop giving back to the society. And one of the best ways to learn is to teach. So that's something, again, I have learned in my life. So yeah. And also one more thing with this is that if you cannot teach whatever complex things that you do in your life, like whether it's my tech or it's finance or whatever, if you cannot explain a complex topic to someone who has no context about it in simple terms, if you can't do that, then you clearly have no understanding of the complex topic. So yeah, that's something you should go back and start mentoring someone. Yeah, this is really important, especially for marginalized identities, which is detach your self-worth from outcomes. Another quote: freedom of mind is the real freedom. A person whose mind is not free, though he may not be in a prison, is a slave and not a free man. So your mind is something that you need to take control of. And I have already talked a lot about like detaching self-worth from outcomes. So I'll not talk more about it. But one main reason that you need to do this is because you will stop taking risks. Because if you are attaching your outcome self-worth to your outcomes, you will only want to do things which you know you will be successful in, and then you will never try things which you think that are not possible. And that's, yeah, if you want to succeed in life, you have to take risks, you have to believe in yourself, and you should be okay with failing. You should be okay with failing as many times as you want. I know failing is, again, a privilege, but maybe if it's something that is mental, that you think that you're attaching your self-worth, in that case, yeah, you should let yourself fail in life. This is controversial, but yeah, no one is coming to save you. Yeah, this is controversial, but that's the truth. Again, if you believe in living a respectable life, you believe in self-help, which is the best help, which is you have to be there for yourself and you have to be making sure. I mean, especially for people from our backgrounds, we don't really have, a lot of the times we are the first people in our families, in our bloodlines to do something. And that means that we are supposed to find our own path. We're supposed to talk to people, network with them, make sure uh, we are trying to get like whatever resources we can, trying to study as hard as we can. And even like whatever we do, like it's business or entrepreneurship or our jobs, whatever, like we have to make sure that we are uh, taking the um, we are at the driver's seat of our own life, and we are making sure that we are able to help ourselves. Because if you keep waiting, nobody's going to come, and you will keep waiting forever. And yeah, that's how it is. If Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar would have waited for another Ambedkar, then we wouldn't be here. Yeah. So yeah, you have to help yourself first. And yeah. Um, this thing which I remembered. Yeah, one thing which is like, because I work in like the tech industry, or one of the things that we had to work is like taking initiatives, and which means that we're supposed to identify issues and then come up with solutions on ourselves. And I was just telling my friend that I was in my previous company, I was like coasting a bit. Coasting means that I was doing like bare minimum work. And my friend told me that you can just say to your manager that you did not have work. And I told her that I cannot say that. Like, I cannot say that I don't have work, because that's not how it works here. Like, at my level position and where I work, I have to be there and finding issues and finding solutions to those issues myself. So, yeah, taking initiative. No one is coming to save you. Uh, so this is the last thing. But before I say this, one thing I want to say is every single goal, every single milestone that you want to achieve in life is achievable if you can break it down into smaller milestones. And this is a good phrase for that, because what this phrase means is we want to annihilate caste, and we want to make sure that our community is uplifted. So we break it down into smaller goals and then achieve each one of them one after the other. And you have to use the same analogy in your life, because if your goal is really unrealistic, or you will not do it. Because if your goal is I want to be a millionaire, that's an unrealistic goal. You will never achieve it. I'm not saying you'll never achieve it, but like you need to have midpoints and middle goals. So if it is something like you want to crack an exam, you want to crack interviews, whatever things you want to accomplish in life, make sure you're first dividing it into smaller goals, making sure like you have like each month I'm going to do this, each week I'm going to do this. So the human brain is uh very mechanical in a way that if you give it structure, it will follow it. So if you give it structure that, hey, I have this UPSC exam or whatever I want to crack, I have this 1 year time or 2 years time or whatever. Then if you break it down, like in the first quarter, I'm going to study XYZ. And then this next quarter, as in like first 3 months, I'll do this. Next 3 months, I'll do that. And then within those months also you have like, okay, this week I'm going to complete this, and this is how my day looks like. I'll wake up, I'll study for XYZ hours, and then for this to this time I'm going to revise. And yeah, and you keep doing that, and you have this structure, your brain is going to do it more. When your goals are achievable, when you're uh, having structure, the your probability of achieving that success is going to increase very significantly. So this is same, like this is uplifting the community by doing smaller goals, educating yourself, which is making sure you are getting educated, but not just educated on subjects which give you monetary benefits. Like, obviously, you should be thinking of that, but also educating yourself on other things around you, and humanities and others, social sciences, to understand like how the world works, and then be organized, which is finding your networks and community and taking help from people around you. Networking is really important, and in life, if you want to succeed, and networks are built through like organizing. And what I mean is, you have to be nice to people, you have to make connections, you have to make sure people feel heard by you, seen by you. If you can do that, then yeah, you can organize. And then last is agitate, which is obviously meaning like you need to talk and hold your power back. And uh, what I mean is, you need to have the strength to like question systems. So yeah, in like as I said, like previous company, there were like some things that were some men who were saying like crassest things. And yeah, agitation is like just going against the system. I publicly went and told, made like post on the Slack channels and stuff, that, and also on LinkedIn and stuff, that the people cannot use such casteist language, and if they do that, they will face consequences. So agitation is important, but before that, organization is also important, because I was fighting alone. I couldn't really achieve that much. I just made like a statement and that's it. If I would have had multiple other people who are from our community with me, I would have been able to make sure that, say, caste is added as a protected, explicitly added, and there are explicit trainings that happen. I would have been able to do that. So all of these three goals are important, and we need to make sure that we yeah, do those. And this is last, which is, I am not an exception, I'm just a proof of how much brilliance is buried under oppression. Thank you so much, and thank you for giving the time for me to like speak. Yeah.
Wonderful, Tanvi. Pretty much motivational. Beautiful. It was very nice. Let me open the floor to the people in case they have any questions, any feedback. If people need to, they can raise hand and I'll unmute.
Yeah, I think you can question on the chat.
Yeah, you can put it on the chat or you can raise hand. I can unmute you specifically. Anyone, if they have any questions. While people write or put up their hand, few of the things that you mentioned are so close to, I think, most of us, right? I'm pretty old. I completed my school and college pretty early, and in our corporate life, we might go through few things. But the points that you mentioned about the resources and the surrounding that, uh, many of us who have probably grown in our life or in the corporate life, not everybody gets that. Uh, and that makes such a huge difference to where we would land, right? So we may have the brilliance or the knowledge, but probably not everybody can reach there because they just don't get that opportunity. So using that and making the best of it, you're a very good example of that, and an inspiration for many, right? And that's, people need to look at certain people and see where they want to reach, especially from our community. And so it's pretty nice thing that you mentioned. It was so much close to some of us who have gone through that, right? So and you put it very nicely. So um, I noted few points, and just again, by the time people come up with their questions or their pointers, but the anxiety or the issues or the humiliation or the internalizing the rhetoric that is told to us, like you come from a certain background, that struggle we may hear, not everybody has that capacity to ignore that and focus on their goals. The first thing that happens is we internalize that, and that's such a depressing thing. That's such a setback for many of us who would want to grow, but you're just hammered with that. So that was a beautiful point that you mentioned about the 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 statistics that you showed. That was excellent. We do not, probably many of us in the cities may not feel about it, but when you go to the remote areas, the daily life, the anxiety, the humiliation that they may be feeling about there is no motivation to go to school, right? Because of the treatment that they get. Nobody is there to tell them that the only way out of their troubles or that environment is by education. And that's where they suffer the most. As you mentioned, like 30% of the schools still practice caste system and also, thank you for sharing that. You mentioned about those kids with you who were not the first generation kids, right? They had that whole environment to support them. Even if they fail, the risk or the freedom to take risk, that is something that you mentioned, the freedom to fail, right? We do not have that. We just don't have that. Many fail, but do we have that freedom? Actually, no, at least for the first generation kids who can now go to a certain level and enable those resources for their community, right? Um, there are a few more points, but I see one hand up. Let me just allow Kushi to put up a question.
Hi Tanvi. First of all, I follow you on Instagram. That's how I found you.
Oh,
Big
hi.
fan. I really like how vocal you are.
Thank you.
But I have one question. It's a little difficult to put into words, honestly, and I don't mean any offense. Um, so, for example, now, like we have to at some point, get into the top colleges, get into the top universities, get into the top companies. But the top companies are the ones who are mostly, they harm marginalized communities the most. So I work at a startup that's funded by Nikhil Kamath. He's very much, BJP guy. And you work at Meta. You obviously know everything they do. So how do we, at the end, like reconcile all that? Because no matter what, you are actively contributing and making things better for that company. So yeah, how do we like deal with that?
I think it depends firstly on like what company you're working at. So that also has a say. Like so in my previous company, right? Again, I'm not gonna name companies, I don't want to get sued. But in my previous company, it was a job search portal, and a lot of the times we would work for blue collar workers to get jobs. So I get where you're coming from, and there are certain cases in which you may know that something is exploratory, and there's two ways to go about it. Like either you can go and confront, but it depends how much power you have. Like one, I don't know if you have heard of this story or not. If you have, then it's fine. If you have not, so there's this employee in Microsoft. So Microsoft had a lot of data centers which were in Israel, and this whole war thing that is happening. And this employee just sends an email to everybody, and a lot of these data centers were generating so much revenue, and it was also powering the war. So this person sent an email that this is just not gonna happen, and just just literally saying how how bad this is. And yeah, I mean, you can choose to have a voice, and you can, if you see something really which is exploratory, I think you should raise your voice for sure, 100%, especially if it is, say, I don't know which company do you work for. I am assuming it may be like a startup for like delivery workers. I may be wrong. Okay, I'm not sure what Nikhil Kamath does. I'm sorry, I am not able to remember right now. But if that is what it is, if you feel that it is, maybe you can raise it. Second is about political opinions. You said they support BJP or whatever. I think uh, political opinions is some a person's personal preference. Just because someone chooses to go with like a certain political ideology or like a political party doesn't mean directly that they are uh, evil, or like whatever they are doing is completely wrong. Again, I'm not saying that I am not, by the way, I am anti whatever. But yeah, it depends. If it's something really exploratory, I think you should definitely talk about it. If it is something with just political leaning, then I think you have to accept that people have different opinions. Yeah. I know it's like you need to be in some place of privilege. In that case, Yeah, I mean, like as I said, like in my previous company, we would work for blue collar workers, and I did have a lot of say in like what would happen in in like the job posting funnels and stuff for the blue collar workers. So you can use your voice for sure if it's something really harmful.
Great question, Khushi, and a great answer, Tanvi. Just if I can add, whether it makes sense or not, but Khushi, in case with the problems that you face with the BJP alliance or the way they are, or from whichever community they come, Nikhil Kamath is into stocks, right? So if you're not facing any issues per se, and then it matters a lot. But if just because of the ideology or otherwise, if you're getting disturbed, then that's something that we need to work on. But if you prove yourself in spite of the environment over there, and see the influence that you can have, see the influence on their ideology or the change that you can bring just by proving yourself, better for yourself and for the company or otherwise, you can actually influence people even if they come from any other background. That's what I've felt. That's what people can do. Rather than resisting that, accepting that and working around it may probably help. A larger topic, but I thought I should just add to this, in case it helps. So
Yeah.
thank you for that question.
And I think political ideologies is something I personally would say not to go after unless until the ideology is not straight up like harming someone else, because ideologies come from like their own experiences and their own mindset. Not everybody who is that from privilege wants to like explicitly harm people. So I think, yeah, that is something you should be okay with.
Great. We have another question from Shivani. Shivani, please unmute. I'm allowing that. Yeah.
Hey, hi Tanvi, Jai Bhim. Yeah. So yeah, it was really a good session, and it really takes immense courage and strength to express like whatever you have went through in this platform, because everyone like does not have that ability to express, and as you mentioned, like they silence themselves in many terms in their life, and it's good like it is really good to express the way in a manner. So that's what I have to say. And I have one question, right? Okay, so you have mentioned like you are also working in corporate, and even I also hold six years of IT experience. So I have a question for you, right? You were mentioning like you have to take the initiatives and you have to talk with your bosses and the seniors. Like I don't have work, and I am really interested in this and that. Okay, but what about the situation like where you get only work but not hike or not a promotion, right? When we ask for a work, we will get the work, and really we get the good work. But if we don't get hike or something, so how to deal with that?
So one thing that you need to do is create a leverage, whatever that leverage is. You have to create a leverage. Leverage meaning either they should have a loss by losing you. So if you leave, it's going to be a loss for them. They cannot afford to lose you. So either you have to have a leverage in your own company, or you need to find jobs outside and then find
Correct.
a job which is paying you more. So in life, like you have to keep building leverages wherever you can and then use them. So either you can go outside, interview, find a different job which is paying more, and then you can just leave your current one and go ahead, or else you just make it straight up clear to your manager that, hey, listen, I care about my career in this company, and if you also care about my career, you would want to give me this hike or promotion. If you're not willing to give, I will go outside and find something else. So for that, you need to have some leverage, and that's how I have gone through. Like I you have to build your own brand, and you have to bring your own leverage, and you have to, and that happens over time. Like it's not something that is going to come directly, but like over time you try to build your own brand wherever you work, and try to build as much leverage as you can, so that they are as much dependent on you, they can't afford losing you, and then it's easier for you to make the negotiations. Yeah.
Huh. It was really simple. I was thinking some other way. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah.
Again, another great question, and probably I'll go back to what Tanvi had mentioned. Choose rooms that make you uncomfortable, right? That's what she had quoted.
Correct.
Right? So in our corporate life, yes, it is not easy. Upskilling and other things. You have an inspiration, right? Tanvi is there who has been kind of inspiring people, since she has been online, very vocal, speaking about what she has done and stuff like that. It's not easy, obviously, but that's wherever uncomfortable, you probably have to try it. At least we need to do that. We have no choice that way. But again, another nice topic for the organizers to take it up, for our community, because we all go through that.
Correct.
Leaving aside the other inferiority and the other complexes that we may go through, but this is a global situation with AI and stuff. But another topic which can be taken up for our community, especially. Anyone else who have questions? Beautiful session going on. I'm liking this.
Yeah.
But if there are more questions, please raise your hand or put it
I
in
think
the
there's
chat.
some questions in the chat. So I'll answer this first, Mansi's question, which is like if I did I was vocal about my identity once I had like if I would have not had a did having financial safety later in life made you comfortable being more vocal about your identity? I wouldn't call it financial safety. Yeah, that was not the case. Like, I mean, like, yeah, obviously it's not that I did build like a financial safety net for myself over the 5-6 years that I've worked for. But I think financial safety was not something that was in the back of my mind. It was mostly uh, just I was tired of listening things, and I think it was just mostly like a breaking point for me when I became more vocal about it. I think it's just like some moments that happen in your life and that just are like, oh yeah, this is not right at all. This is not gonna happen, and you cannot talk to me like that. And that was like a breaking point for me. So I don't think financial safety at all was something which I even considered when I was like vocal. And yeah, I do have financial responsibility, by the way. I have people dependent on me, so I am still vocal right now. I have a house in Mumbai, I pay EMIs, so obviously I have financial responsibility. I have financial I have people dependent on me, so it's not that I don't have that right now. But yeah, I think in the end, I think you have to decide like what do you want, and you have to also have faith in yourself that if you're vocal, but you know that you're good enough, I think you being vocal is fine. Like, it's not just about you being good enough or not good enough. It's about, like, in the end, it's like about your own dignity. Like, if someone is just saying some things, and after a point, it's just like you cannot take it anymore. So that it was mostly that. I don't think finance was anywhere consideration. Yeah, it was just mostly being tired of listening to people talk shit.
Tanvi, if you want, I can unmute you, because unfortunately I was not able to look at the chat, which I can, but please put in the chat, or I can unmute if you have further question on that. Sorry, Mansi, that was Mansi, sorry. Uh, um, Thanks. Good question, Mansi, and good answer, Tanvi. I see another comment which came up from Sam.
Yeah, so were there any phases which were distinctly different and good? So like as I said, like different initially, I think was when I said after my boards I was 95%, and I got that in my head a lot, and I did not study. And one that was really different because the insecurity came afterwards. But before that, I was like on like cloud nine that I am the smartest person in this world. And I think that also came from a fact that uh because I was trying to prove so much, and I attached because I attached myself to outcome, because the outcome was good. I thought I am like the best, and that is something that should also not happen. If you're successful in life, you also need to make sure that you don't get so caught up in it that you think that you are the best in this world. The moment you think that, then you are not going to be able to like compete with others, because you will think that others are not as great as you, which is not true at all. Like, everyone else is working hard, and if you don't work hard, if you just think that you are smart and that is going to be enough, then yeah, it's not going to happen. So that was a different phase in my life. Yeah. Yeah, Mansi. Hey, Mansi.
Yeah, Mansi, can you unmute yourself?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi,
Hi.
hi. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Hi, Tanvi. Thank you for answering my question. And sorry, I did not mean it like,
Oh, no,
you do not come
no,
from a
not at
place
all,
of
at all.
responsibility.
I'm just saying that, yeah, that was
What,
not something in the
no,
back of
no,
my mind.
I,
Yeah.
I thought that, that point did need a little more elaboration from my end. What I meant is like, because if you have put in a lot of work to get there, if this is like your only discourse, financial discourse, you have a lot dependent, like you mentioned, in your journey, that you would be one of the first people to spearhead like something, like that is like the first person in your life to actually get to this point. So, you have that insecurity as well. And I remember somebody mentioning here, like, from her employer being from a different political background. But that happens at workplace as well, right? Where you do not agree with the political viewpoint of certain people, but at the same time you need the support, you work well with them. So in that case, you have a lot of I would say interpersonal relationships to maintain while also safeguarding, what your identity is. So that is where I was coming from,
Okay,
that
yeah.
was basically the so that is all. Thank you for answering.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think it's fine. I think one of the things that I realized later is that even right now is that we are, as marginalized identities, we are still protected by the law. So if someone is from a certain mindset and if they do try to harm you because of your identity, you can still like fight back for that. Initially, I
Right.
thought that I would not be able to do that, but now I'm like, yeah, I do come from a marginalized background and a marginalized identity, and even though people may have differences, we can live together in the differences. But the moment you start discriminating against me is the moment I will also retaliate and fight
Right.
back. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the courage really shows. I mean, kudos to your courage, I would say.
Absolutely. Again, a good point, Mansi, and thanks, Tanvi, for that. I think one point you had mentioned, Tanvi, was silence amplifies the pain, right? So one of the points that Mansi had mentioned was about, how are you so vocal about and stuff like that. So I think it is helping you by the way you speak out. I think it is relaxing you. You are able to also communicate and give that inspiration to people. But at the same time, I think it is giving you a lot of therapy in its own way, where you speak out. Instagram is good for that or other social media. Obviously, we have to balance with our work and other responsibilities, but that was a nice thing. And also, Mansi mentioned a good point about the political affiliation. Everywhere we face that. But I think in person, when we speak to multiple people in our surroundings, not everybody wants to harm us, right? Yeah, they may have some resentment otherwise, but that's where our work proves. And maybe I'm wrong while saying this, but every employer wants people who they can exploit, right? They want cheap labor, they want people who will do things for free. And India is a big country where there are a lot of employment opportunities. We have to take those, irrespective of how they are, whatever affiliation they are there. We have to look at our own progress, take that opportunity, have the progress, and then we can have our opinions and make the difference to the community as well. That's my just 2 cents on that. Uh, Again, sorry, I missed the chat earlier. There is another question from Sumit.
Yeah. Like how lonely is it? So it was lonely before. Right now, I think it's much better. One thing I did realize is that not all your relationships as in like relations that you form at your workplace have to be really close ones. Like you can be you can have relations with people who you have completely different opinions with. You can have relations with people with like completely different backgrounds, and that relations can be surface level. You can have like basic conversations with people. You don't have to have like full heart to heart conversation with everyone, and that's how you not stay lonely, is accepting that people are different and accepting that if they are explicitly saying something really harmful, yes, you should talk back. But if they are someone who come from different background, and yeah, in that case I think you should just be okay accepting that. And how do you take care of your mental health? I think just go to therapy and also talk about what you feel. I think one of the main things is just talking about things is with your friends, or your whoever you trust, friends, therapist, whatever. I think talking helps a lot. uh
Thank you for that, Tanvi. I think Sumit got disconnected. I do not see him in the
Okay.
chat, but good answer. Anyone else having any questions? Sorry, my pet is here barking around, so maybe that must be disturbing. Hence, I had to go on mute. I think no other questions, but
Cool.
a beautiful session. And one point before we conclude, it was about the mentoring part. You mentioned about we getting into that zone again, which is an uncomfortable zone. And I also recollect looking at some posts where you were skeptical, in doubt whether you should speak. I don't know whether it was about this session or some other session where
Yeah,
there,
this is
yeah, right?
the one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
So you yourself being skeptical, not fully ready, but you coming here, and it was so beautiful. Like I'm getting goosebumps about about few of the things that you mentioned. It is so close to all of us, right? Probably English as a language, we may not be able to reach everyone, but the more we are able to communicate on these topics, because this is so relevant, right? There is the caste system somewhere people are suffering, but once they enter into a corporate life or through the education system, these are real ground issues, right? Where some of the things you mentioned are so beautiful. If we are able to pass it on to many people who do not know English as well, it would be great. I think summarily, the overall session, I felt it very close to the heart because I can connect with it. I think many people who ask questions, they could relate to it. Um, so it was nice. And I hope we have more such sessions on different areas. The way you explain, the choice of words, the choice of examples, the close connection to the everyday life, it was all beautiful. So um, thank you for this. It was a great session, and I think we are almost at the top. We have 8 minutes, and I don't see any other questions unless it's on the chat. But if you know,
Yeah.
there
I
are.
think Mandar has one question. I think the
Oh, okay.
answer to that, Mandar, is the same, that just don't put your self-worth to outcomes. And second is rejection is going to happen. Okay, that is something you have to deal with. It's fine to get rejected, because if you're not getting rejected, that means you're not trying hard enough. You're not going to places which need you to be there, thinking whatever you got. Yeah, don't think that whatever you got was because of reservation. It's not true at all. I'll tell you one thing, like if you are facing rejections, go back and see why exactly did you face the rejection. Go back, talk to people, see what is something that they are having you're not having. Look at whatever I think I think you're applying for some programs, right? Yeah, some MS programs that you're applying for. Maybe talk to someone around you who can know, maybe look at what is something that is lacking at your end. And lacking is not something which is with your own skills. That is something you can develop over time. What lacking is something is what I mean is, like, you are not doing something that you need to do. That's all. It doesn't mean that you're lacking in terms of intelligence or lacking in terms of talent or merit or any of that. It just means there is like some things that you need to be doing for getting this which you are not done yet. So I would say just go and try to see what the are those things, and then try applying again. And yeah, don't take rejections personally. Just with each rejection, just look at why were you rejected. Don't take it personally. Look why were you rejected, and try to improve on those things. So yeah, that's what I'll say. And yeah, whatever you got was not because of reservation. It's because you were talented. Okay.
Great question, Mandar, and again, great answer, Tanvi. Mandar, you just need one chance, right? You just need something once to click. All this thing goes away. So all the best for that. Okay, there's another uh, post by Vikram.
Yeah, I think we should not make anyone believe in superstitious.
Yeah,
It'll make us.
correct.
Also, Mandar, I want to say that I was also rejected by a lot of companies before I got here. And I also did the same thing where I to put it like, oh, it's because I am not good enough. I am here only because of reservation and this. That was not true. Because I was doing that, I was not looking at the bigger picture, which is what I am not doing. So when I started looking at what I did not do, I had to solve XYZ questions. I had to read these XYZ, which I was not doing. That is why I was getting rejected. And once I realized what I need to do, and I started doing exactly that, I was studying for interviews, and I knew exactly what I needed to study, and I started focusing on improving those skills rather than putting like, oh, I got rejected so many times, this and that. I just started to doing like, why did I get rejected? Oh, this was the reason. I was maybe coding in C++, and that's a slow language. I need to switch to Python, and that's what I did. And yeah, that's the thing. Like, find out every single thing, like where exactly are you lacking, and improve in those aspects. Yeah.
Great.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Sir.
Nipon.
Okay, so we have only 5 minutes, but let's make the best of it. There are 2 questions, then if you can go through the chat.
Okay, sure. One is, what are the skills you use daily as an AI? I am not an AI engineer, I'm a software engineer that students usually ignore. I think one skill that I use a lot in my life, I don't know if you're asking about an AI skill or which skill, but one skill I use a lot is breaking down a very big problem into smaller problems. That's how you solve big problems. You need to learn that skill, and that will help you solve most things in your life, breaking down bigger problems into smaller problems. Yeah. And I think, yeah, if you're talking about AI skills, I use AI for coding and everything, and for researching, and because that's like the norm in the industry, so I have to do that.
Hello, JBM everyone. Am I
Hi.
audible?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you are audible.
Uh, Actually, I'm teaching at Dr. Ambedkar College, Diksha Bhumi, Nagpur. But I am on contract basis. I don't have any question right now. The session was good. I just want to share what's happening currently with this affiliated college of state universities. You will see there is no student coming to college, and it's been a big task to how to means pull them and tell them to come to classes, get educated, and and all of the administration work of college that are on so we are always full of burden of this administration work, and no classes because of student absenteeism. So it's been like 6 years.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe then I don't know whether you have any pointers. It's a fact, and there are other obviously many educational initiatives taken by our community members. Hopefully, Sankalp, we may have some more information on that, where there are ways to get our people into the colleges, or
Yes, I'm
and folks.
already
Yeah,
I'm already in touch with Raju Kendre, Eklavya,
yeah,
and Rahul Sonpimple.
yes, I was referring to that. Correct.
Yeah.
So, apologies, we'll have to conclude. We just have 2 minutes. There is
Yeah, in later
question.
session we
Yeah,
would discuss this in later sessions.
yeah,
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
great. We have this WhatsApp chat. In case you have joined, you could put the question, and hopefully Swapnil and Mangesh would able to pass it on to Tanvi if it is related to
Yes,
her, or
yes.
to the other speakers, and let's see how as a community we can help each other. So there is one
Okay, sir.
question from Vikram, but Vikram, apologies, we'll have to disconnect now. If you can put it in the chat, maybe Tanvi would be able. It may go to Tanvi, and then we can answer
Yeah, you
that.
can just DM me on Instagram. I'll respond to you.
That's the best way, right? So yeah, yeah. The idea is, I think, the lit baddie, right? So if you can put it in the chat, maybe then it would help. We have just few
Yeah,
seconds.
sure. You can just
Yeah,
ping me.
yeah. Again,
So
a
it's
beautiful session,
the
and thank you
lit,
all.
which is the lit. That's a
Yeah.
that's
Great. Okay. Anyway,
so much.
Jay, I think we'll have to disconnect now, but in advance, our heartiest wishes on Ambedkar Jayanti tomorrow. Hope you are able to celebrate with full heart. And thank you for this beautiful session, Tanvi, and thank you to the organizers for setting this up. No? Thank you all. Good
Thank
night.
you, everyone.
Jai
Jai
Bhim.
Bhim. Happy Ambedkar Jayanti in advance.
Bye bye.
Yep.